So a couple of days ago, ARK Invest actually released a Twitter Spaces on basically the cost savings and the cost reductions of AI and things along that sort of space, okay? I'll leave the link to that space in the description below. Feel free to go check that yourself. It is an absolute fantastic treasure trove of information where they see the future going and things like that. Now, the whole thing is predicated on how much the costs are dropping for AI and training, things related to that kind of space, okay? They basically are stating that the costs are going to drop faster than panties at an AI convention. Wait.
That's not funny.
Anyway, so the point of it was that costs are going to drop like crazy. They're projecting right now, there are companies, AI companies that are worth around $2.5 trillion collectively. And the AI companies in 2030 are potentially going to be worth $87 trillion. That's really what they're projecting from that talk. If you want a sort of like quick snapshot of all the things that they talked about, Stephen Mark Ryan actually did pretty much exactly what I wanted to cut out of that talk into his speech. Now, his is very Tesla centric, but if you feel like just getting the snippets of the podcast, then feel free to go check it out. I'll leave the link over here. The point of what ARK was trying to say there is that before, things were actually very expensive to train these models, right? So you have these algorithms, you actually have to train them to recognize certain patterns. That becomes a model, and you use that model as sort of like a backend for an application, which then, you know, once you feed it information, it'll give you that pattern back and say, oh, I suggest that you do this, or whatever the application might be. So that's usually where this sits. Now, in the future, this cost of building this model is going to drop. Now, I can vouch to this straight up because I did have sort of like an AI startup. It actually helped. It would have saved the marketing companies thousands of dollars, but it would have cost me tens of thousands of dollars just to build this model and sort of ship it out and manage that, the machine learning part of it, right? You know, I can't expose too much of this because, you know, the main reason was mainly because of my incompetence, but training costs were pretty high, okay? Come on. But anyway, so costs associated with it was pretty high. And this, like, if you don't believe that this is going to be the future, right? If you're still like sort of on the fence about AI and things like that, you're crazy, straight up, because I'm not an expert at all, guys. I just know a little bit of Python. I read a little bit of books, right? I read a few things on the internet, and I decided to build something, and it worked. If somebody like me can do it, what's there from stopping you to becoming or making the next company that's going to be part of that $87 trillion group, right? And on top of that, I just want to emphasize, the companies that I'm invested in currently, which is mainly just Tesla and Palantir, are solely well positioned for this kind of stuff. Now, the talk mainly talks about, they actually talk about, like, there's this $21 trillion value out of that whole 87 to $100 trillion mark that is sort of, they're allocating that, and they're sort of reserving that for companies like Microsoft, OpenAI, Google, people that are actually progressing the fundamentals of AI and machine learning. So things like chips, training costs, training and potential ways of training, like GPT-3 is one of those things that OpenAI and things like that develop. TensorFlow is another good one. So these kind of technologies, like people that invent them, right? They create the pathway and the road to actually, for you to use your AI software to, like it'll be the backbone of your software, basically. Those guys, they're chalking it up to around 21 trillion. So take your pick. Microsoft partnered with OpenAI, Google, some other companies. They could be potentially worth a lot more than they are right now. A lot of these companies are sub $2 trillion or just around that space there, right? So, you know, keep that in mind. Now, Tesla is huge because they're developing Dojo, which is a training module. And well, I'm really just like simplifying it. We don't even know what it is, but it's going to be crazy for training for their purpose. They're even planning to ship this out a little bit, right? And Palantir in general has, like, see, you guys have to understand, there's AI companies are not all built the same. There are companies that are going to make applications that are consumer facing. So I think a lot of this stuff is going to happen in the metaverse as well. And, you know, like a robo sort of a concierge and things like that, right? There's going to be use cases there, but that's not it. That's not the only reason for it. There's also companies that are focusing on the training costs. There's also companies that are focusing on the chips, like NVIDIA. They mentioned NVIDIA as well. There's also companies that focus on both, actually, like Tesla, where they're making the chips or they're designing the chips. They're also making like the training part of it with Dojo, and they're also trying to put it in their cars and solving for artificial general intelligence with TeslaBot. So Palantir, I think, is going to be on the second sort of tier of companies that are going to build not the front-facing, customer-facing, consumer-side AI or machine learning, but they're going to build that enterprise module set, or the enterprise, think of it like a locker. So all these enterprise companies can put their machine learning into this locker and use it and pull it out sort of whenever they need to apply for their consumers or apply for their, whoever their end customers are. So Palantir is in that sort of middle glue phase. So in a way, my investments are very secure, especially I think, in my opinion, that Palantir and Tesla are very good, secure stocks, especially when it comes to machine learning, AI, and just future-proof, to be honest with you. I'm still looking very seriously at a position, opening up a position in Microsoft and Google. Microsoft is killing it out here, so I really got to look into that. I'm going to do another video on the OpenAI and Microsoft partnership, but this kind of stuff is crazy, guys. If you still don't believe it, you really just got to do a little bit more reading. The costs are dropping so drastically, and there's more information so readily available. There's kits, and there's like basically modules that you can download off the internet, where if you just understand a little bit of Python code or just general coding, you can build something with machine learning just very simply. I actually trained a lot of my initial models on my computer at home, and I have like kind of like a gaming setup, and it took me about 3-4 hours to train my first model. Very, very small, but it's not very hard to get into. So if somebody like me can get into it, it's definitely open season for anybody who's a little bit more technical. I think there's going to be tons of new companies coming out. A lot of the stuff that we currently see is going to be augmented with AI and helped with machine learning. But more importantly, new sort of businesses are going to open up, which is why I think this $87 trillion, sort of title is come about, right? It's not just the companies right now that are going to go up, but new sort of types of companies and businesses will come up, offering newer products and newer services, and we're definitely going to benefit from that in the long run. So that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If I'm full of shit, let me know. If not, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.